Picture a young man, barefoot, wandering through the streets of California. A college dropout with no money, no clear plan, and yet, an unshakable belief that he was destined to change the world. That man was Steve Jobs. The visionary who gave us the iPhone, the Mac, Pixar, and a revolution in technology. But behind his success was a story of pain, rejection, failure, and an unstoppable spirit that refused to quit. Steve Jobs was born in 1955, but almost immediately, life tested him. His biological parents put him up for adoption. Imagine entering the world and being given away. But destiny had other plans. A humble couple, Paul and Clara Jobs, adopted him and gave him love, stability, and encouragement. Steve wasn't an ordinary child. He was curious, sometimes too curious. He would dismantle radios, televisions, and gadgets, not out of mischief, but to understand how things worked. That curiosity, that hunger to know why, became the foundation of his genius. Fast forward to his college years. Jobs enrolled at Reed College, but within months, he dropped out. Why? Because his parents were spending their life savings, and Steve couldn't see the value in attending classes that didn't inspire him. But instead of leaving, he stayed around, sleeping on the floors of friends' dorm rooms, collecting Coke bottles to get a few cents for food, and walking miles just to get free meals at the Hare Krishna temple. And then came a moment that would shape the future of design forever. He stumbled into a calligraphy class. Beautiful fonts, elegant spacing, typography. At the time, it seemed useless. But years later, this knowledge made Apple computers stand out, giving the world beautifully designed fonts and interfaces. What seemed meaningless at the time became priceless. At just 20 years old, Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak started Apple in a garage. With nothing but passion, vision, and a few dollars, they built the first Apple computer. They dreamed big. They wanted to put computers into the hands of everyday people. And soon, Apple wasn't just a small startup. It exploded into a global phenomenon. By 25, Steve Jobs was worth over $200 million. He had fame, wealth, and power, but he was about to learn one of life's hardest lessons. In 1985, something unimaginable happened. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Imagine building your dream, only to be thrown out of it. The board of Apple decided he was no longer the right leader. Jobs later said, "I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me." Most people would give up. Most people would hide. But Steve Jobs began again. After Apple, Jobs founded Next, a new computer company. It wasn't commercially successful at first, but the technology was so advanced that Apple eventually bought it, and with that, Jobs returned to the company he had created. But before that, something even bigger happened. Jobs bought a small animation company called Pixar. People thought he was crazy. But Pixar went on to produce Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated film, changing the movie industry forever. Failure didn't destroy Jobs. It refined him. In 1997, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. The company that Steve Jobs once built was dying. But fate brought him back. And when Jobs returned, he didn't just save Apple, he reinvented it. He introduced products that didn't just work, they amazed people. The iMac. The iPod. iTunes. The iPhone. The iPad. Devices that redefined how we communicate, listen to music, and interact with technology. Jobs didn't just give people products. He gave them experiences. He once said, "People don't know what they want until you show it to them." One of Steve Jobs' greatest philosophies was simplicity. He believed that technology should be simple, intuitive, and beautiful. While competitors were adding complexity, Apple was stripping things down to the essentials. He was a perfectionist. He demanded excellence, sometimes harshly, but it was this relentless pursuit of perfection that gave the world revolutionary products. Jobs taught us that success isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters, beautifully. But life had one more test for Steve Jobs. In 2003, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave him only months to live. But he fought. He tried treatments, he kept working, he kept dreaming. In 2005, at Stanford University, he gave one of the most powerful speeches of all time. He said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." Those words didn't just inspire students. They inspired the world. Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, at the age of 56. But his vision lives on. Every time someone picks up an iPhone, uses a MacBook, or watches a Pixar movie, his influence echoes. He once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." And he was right. Lessons from Steve Jobs' life. What do we learn from Steve Jobs? That rejection isn't the end, it's often the beginning. That dropping out doesn't mean dropping out of life, it means dropping into what matters. That failures aren't setbacks, they are setups for comebacks. That passion and vision are more powerful than money or resources. That life is short, and the only way to live it fully is to follow your. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe our channel. Press bell icon to stay connected with us.